Well, I guess the Sabres' lack of a playoff experience didn't come back to bite them last night as they proved they are playoff worthy and weathered the storm with a 4-3 win over the Bruins to take game one. 3 goals in a 4-minute and 34-second span in the third period was the catalyst to the 4-3 win. Buffalo outshot Boston 38-20. This game here, first of all, the crowd was insane, absolutely electric. After the first Thompson goal, the decibels were measured at 115. 115, which is equivalent to a rock concert, to a jet engine, to more environmental that everyone can relate to, a very intense, close thunderclap. That's how loud. That's how loud it was. Uh, but this game really started out, and for the first two periods, really the Bruins played a textbook road game. They did not give the Sabres a lot of quality chances. Everything was to the outside. Swayman was outstanding when he was tested. He was great on deflections and screenshots. He was, and the anticipatory nature of his goaltending was Jeremy Swayman at the top of his game. He was outstanding, and the Bruins really played a classic road game. You know, they took the one nothing lead on Geeky's first of the playoffs on a juicy rebound. Boy, you hate to see UPL, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, the Sabres goaltender, give up a rebound like that. And probably you could go as far as to say he probably should have stopped that shot too. But it's in close and it's 1-0. And that's the way it stayed all the way to the third period. The second period, the Sabres kept coming. I remember writing down during the game and making remarks to Andrea, who's watching the game with me, is they just have to keep this up. If they keep this up, they're going to break through. They're going to find a chink in the armor of the Boston defense, and by virtue of that, Jeremy Swayman, and they did. It reminds me of the quote in Rocky 2, for those of you who have watched the movie, with Apollo Creed's cornerman, Tony Duke Evers, played wonderfully by Tony Burton, who went up to him and said, "Look, man, I seen you beat this man like I've never seen no man get beat before." And the man kept coming after you. We don't need that kind of man in our life, is basically how he ended it. But that was kind of what I thought of last night, is the Sabres just kept coming. And when you play a defensive kind of shutdown road game like Boston does, it doesn't appear to be taking a lot of energy out of you, but it does. And not only does it take energy out of the forwards and the neutral zone, by virtue of having to be in position, which takes effort to get in position, it also takes it out of your defense because of the Sabres' relentless forecheck. And this is when I was wondering before this series on the last episode, how long will it take them to get to their game? Well, I think they were on their game pretty much the first two periods, but with no results. But boy, did they turn it up in the third. Uh, After the geeky goal, Lindholm, a minute 8 in, scores on a nice play. And you know, I mentioned on the last few episodes of this channel that Owen Power, for his dynamic offensive upside, and it's elite as far as an offensive defenseman goes. He's a liability 8 feet in because he couldn't figure out which guy to pick up, and when you don't know what to do, sometimes you wind up doing nothing. And that's exactly what he did. And Lindholm slipped that puck in, and it's 2-0. But the building refused to go quiet. And on the plus side, there was 18:52 left in the third period to correct this. And correct it they did. Tage Thompson with an incredible individual effort to make it 2-1. This play does not happen at all if Bowen Byram, in the right corner of his own defensive zone, gets through two Bruin forecheckers. Two. He almost like they banged off of him. And Byram, with the presence of mind to, with his body lean and positioning, with the puck on his stick to come out of that and set up the rush down the ice. And Tage does an amazing job. The Arvidsson line got, that's kind of what Marco Sturm was going for as far as the matchups go. They get trapped in deep, and the Sabres worked them. And I guess Bruin fans could say Swayman should have stopped that, got over fast enough. But when you're dealing with somebody, and this happened on the second goal as well, when you're dealing with somebody as tall and as lanky as Thompson is, and he's lanky in the sense of reach. He's a very built guy, obviously, because defenders bounce off him. It's tough to get over fast enough with that length that you would probably call a good 11 and a half feet. And it tucks it in, it's 2-1, and the decibels go up to 115, and the place goes wild. That's really where the fuse was lit, because Buffalo kept coming and coming. And then what I talked about in the previous episode, in the preview of this series, is the Lindholm Pastrnak geeky line is not good in their own end. Pasternak's probably the best of them, but Geeky's a turnover machine. And what happened? They got hemmed in deep. Thompson comes out, and he's 5 feet from Swayman. Now, I know Bruins fans have been reading today say you should stop that. 5 feet, that puck comes off Tage's stick almost as fast as anybody in the league. He's got to be in the top 5 as far as release time. And that's right through his legs, and it's 2-2, and the place goes wild. Well, not to be outdone, the Sabres are flying. And not to be outdone, and I mentioned this on the show as well, that the second and third lines are going to be key to this series. And what happened here is Josh, I'm sorry, McLeod comes screaming into the right corner, right on the forecheck. The puck comes to Jack Quinn. Jack Quinn stick handles and maneuvers at the same time around two Bruins to Matthias Samuelsson on the left edge of the slot. And if you go back over that goal and you listen to the crowd, there's an anticipatory moment when he gets the puck on his stick. And he just had that little half second of patience and waited for one of the greatest textbook screens I've ever seen in hockey, provided by Jason Zucker, who leaped across, and all Jeremy Swayman saw was a blur of royal blue, and the puck was in the net. Great shot, short side by Samuelsson, who, by the way, started that play on the pass out of the zone that McLeod finally snared from the Boston defender. The pass had so much force. The Boston player, forgive me, I could not keep it in, and McLeod started that play. So, I mean, unbelievable. And the crowd went crazy. So 3-2, and like I said, Zucker with a screen of a lifetime. And then on the empty net goal, Tage Thompson gets absolutely freight trained by Nikita Zadorov. But as he is getting blasted and falling backwards, he banks it off the glass into the neutral zone for Tuck to come in and give him a 4-2 lead. Tage would take a tripping call, an obvious tripping call. You know, with a 2-goal lead with under a minute left, I don't care what you do. That's fine. You didn't like his momentum. Lindholm going through the neutral zone. He chopped them down. He gets the box. And the Bruins scored a nice little goal there. Off the draw, they kept the possession in. And Pastrnak with a no-look backhand towards the net. I mean, it was a shot more than a pass. And Lindholm definitely tipped that by UPL. But that was that. The Sabres ran out the rest of the third period and come away with a 1-0 series lead in a 4-2 win. Couple points here before I go. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was excellent when he had to be. David Pastrnak, for some reason, and I'm sure this was in the video clips that Lindy Ruff and the staff put together, uh, today to show them after the game. Got behind their defense not once, but twice. One was he was a little in close, but it's Pasternak. He's got amazing hands. He easily could have scored. That's something they're going to have to work on because of any guy on the Boston team that you do not want coming in solo on your goaltender on a breakaway. It's number 88 in David Pasternak. So that's something they're going to have to pay attention to because they got lucky that he didn't score in both of those, or at least one of them. But UPL, when needed, really kept the game, the Sabres in the game, and that just translates into what an incredible team win it was. As a team, as a whole, everybody did their part. Everybody came through when it counted, and the Sabres just, like I said, the biggest nightmare for the Bruins were the Sabres getting to the game and coming at them wave after wave. And they did it for most of the game, but they really kicked it into another gear in the third period, spurred on by the Thompson goal that made it 2-1. And they got to their game. So a lot of questions were answered here. Could UPL hold up? He did. Would the third pairing of Stanley and Timmins be a liability? They weren't. Were your best players going to play their best in the most critical moments? Obviously, yes. Tage Thompson with 2 goals. Um, would players that I weren't worried about that would translate well their style of play to playoff hockey? Yes. Rasmus Dahlin was terrific. Matthias Samuelsson was a bull and provided the third goal that didn't turn out to be the winner because that went to Alex Tuck with the empty netter. But he was just outstanding all night. Um, from here, you go to game 2, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I expect a more physical Boston team, especially on the Tuck, Krebs, and Thompson line, because they can't let Tage beat him again. Because Tage basically went in the phone booth and said, "All right, it's time for me to shine." Put the cape on, and got the game tied up single-handedly. Obviously, there were other factors involved in that line and what he did. But that's something that they're going to have to focus on. And for the Sabres, to get up early on this team and not go into a 2-0 hole, have made it a habit of great third periods, and that's fantastic. Occasionally, that's going to come back and bite you in the ass. Um, Boston fans, they're just never satisfied. They just know. Reading a lot today about Jeremy Swayman on the Boston perspective, and a lot of it is this is why he never gets a start in international hockey because he chokes at the big moment. He was fantastic for 52 minutes. If his defense would have helped him out and been able to control Tage Thompson, they would have skated out of here with a win, with looking to take a stranglehold on the series by tomorrow night. But that didn't happen. So to put this all on Swayman, yeah, the first goal, okay, I'll listen to that. But from then on, the second goal was in tight, and Samuelson had a perfect shot with a perfect all-time screen by Jason Zucker. Um, Francis Chiron and John McIsaac were the referees. I thought they called a good game. I thought there was maybe one or two. There's Krebs got tripped somewhere in the middle of about 7 minutes left, I think, 7 to 6 minutes left in the second. I thought should have got called. But all in all, well officiated. Took guys, and the Thompson goal took 2 on each side, so it was 5-on-5. Didn't give advantage really to anyone. The Sabres power play, that's got to be worked on if they ever want to go really, really deep in the postseason. They're going to have to work on the power play as well because it wasn't very good. And 0 for 4. There you go. You can't do any worse than that unless you go 0 for 5. But they're going to have to work on that. But really, a well-called game, and your 3 stars to end it here. Tage Thompson, obviously number 1 with the goals 1 and 2 in the playoffs. Matthias Samuelsson with goal 1 and just had a monster game and was the difference every time he was out on the ice. And boy, every time I bring up Samuelson's name, I have to apologize because I wanted him gone for a third-round pick and half his salary and maybe throw in the 7th. but he's proved me wrong. He's proved everybody wrong because nobody had this right. See him turn into an incredible defensive defenseman, and he was great again last night. Alex Tuck gets the third star as well. He was terrific all night long as well. So no worry about him transitioning to playoffs, especially with that Vegas experience. He looked like he belonged right at all. The fourth star tonight, and that is brought to you by nobody tonight. We'll get a sponsor. The fourth star to me is Jason Zucker with an all-time textbook coach's clinic screen on the Samuelson goal to take a 3-2 lead. You can't do it any better than that. That is perfect. And Samuelson just waited just a half a beat for Zucker to get in position. And it was just perfection on that goal. The forecheck, the effort by Quinn to maneuver on two Bruins, Samuelson screaming back into the play, holding it for a second, Zucker with the screen. Swayman never saw it. 3-2. The Sabres go on to win 4-3. So one game down and game two to come tomorrow night downtown. An honorable mention goes to the crowd. You were fantastic all night long. From filling the aisles in the warm up to the final horn, you guys were terrific. See you back here after game two.